In the summer of 1985, the small town of Silverton, Oregon, nestled in the lush Willamette Valley, was a place where time seemed to stand still. The air carried the scent of damp pine and freshly cut hay, and the Silver Creek Diner on Main Street buzzed with the clink of coffee mugs and the twang of George Strait's The Chair from a jukebox. Silverton, with its rolling hills and the distant silhouette of the Cascade Mountains, was a postcard of rural America, where folks left their doors unlocked and the annual Marion County Fair was the highlight of the year. But on a humid August night, that idyllic image shattered when Deputy Maria Delgado, a 28-year-old officer with a quick smile and a fierce dedication to her badge, vanished during a routine patrol near the abandoned Silver Falls lumber mill. Maria had been investigating reports of suspicious activity, rumored drug deals, near the mill, a crumbling relic of Silverton's logging heyday. Her last radio call, crackling through the static at 11:47 p.m., reported she was checking a parked truck near the mill's rusted gates. When she didn't check in by midnight, Sheriff Dan Hargrove sent a search party. They found her patrol car, a 1983 Ford Bronco, parked on a gravel road by the mill, its headlights dimming as the battery drained. The keys were in the ignition, her thermos of coffee still warm on the passenger seat, but Maria was gone. No blood, no signs of a struggle, just an eerie silence under the starlit sky. The town rallied, combing the woods and dragging Silver Creek, but no trace of her was found. Theories swirled. An accident in the dense forest, a runaway to escape small-town life, or a kidnapping by drifters passing through. By winter, the case went cold, a wound that festered in Silverton's heart. For 16 years, Maria's disappearance remained a local legend, whispered about in the diner over slices of Marionberry pie. Her parents, Elena and Miguel Delgado, kept her photo on the mantel of their farmhouse, a shrine of hope that their only daughter might return. The town's annual fair dedicated a bench to her memory, engraved with Deputy Maria Delgado, forever our guardian. But the truth lay buried until September 2001, when a retired schoolteacher, Clara Hensley, made a discovery that would crack the case wide open. Clara, a spry 67-year-old with a penchant for gardening, was clearing brush from an overgrown lot behind her family's old barn, a property bordering the lumber mill. Her shovel hit something hard, a rusted metal box, half buried under a tangle of blackberry vines. Inside, wrapped in a faded oilcloth, was Maria's service revolver, its grip etched with her initials, and a small, weathered notebook. The notebook's pages were brittle, but Clara could make out Maria's neat handwriting, cryptic notes about meetings at the mill and watch the mayor. Trembling, Clara called the Marion County Sheriff's Office, and within hours, the lot was crawling with deputies. The call reached Detective Samuel Sam Whitaker, a 48-year-old investigator with the Oregon State Police, who had grown up in Silverton. Sam was a methodical man, his graying temples and steady gaze a testament to years spent untangling crimes across the state. He'd known Maria, not well, but enough to remember her laugh at the county fair, where she'd once helped him wrangle a runaway pig during a 4-H event. Sam had left Silverton in the late 80s for Portland, chasing bigger cases, but Maria's disappearance had always nagged at him, a loose thread from his hometown. Now, with the revolver and notebook in evidence bags, he felt the weight of her ghost pulling him back. Sam arrived in Silverton under a gray autumn sky. The town little changed since his childhood. The diner still served bottomless coffee, and the old mill skeleton loomed on the outskirts, its smokestacks piercing the mist. At the sheriff's office, a squat brick building adorned with a faded American flag, Sam met with Sheriff Linda Tate, a no-nonsense woman who'd taken over after Hargrove's retirement in 1990. Linda handed him the evidence, her face grim. "This ain't just a cold case, Sam," she said, her voice low. "Maria was onto something, and someone made sure she stopped." The notebook's entries were fragmented but chilling. Maria had written about late-night meetings at the mill, mentioning names like Mayor T and Deputy R. She'd noted a shipment expected in August 1985, with references to the border and cash drops. Sam's gut churned. Mayor Harold Thornton had been a pillar of Silverton, a charming man who'd served 3 terms before retiring in 1995. Deputy R could be Roger Klein, a veteran officer still with the department. The revolver, wiped clean of prints, suggested someone had hidden it deliberately. Sam knew this wasn't a simple disappearance anymore. It smelled of a cover-up, and the rot might run deep. Clara Hensley, the civilian who'd found the box, became an unlikely ally. A widow who'd taught history at Silverton High for 30 years, Clara was sharp and fiercely protective of her town. She'd known Maria as a student, remembering her as a girl who'd dreamed of keeping Silverton safe. Over coffee at the diner, Clara shared her suspicions. Back in '85, folks said Maria ran off, but I never bought it, she said, her eyes narrowing. She wasn't the type. And the mayor? He was too cozy with those logging bosses, always at the mill after hours. Sam listened, jotting notes, his mind racing. The mill, once the heart of Silverton's economy, had closed in 1983, but its shadow lingered. Could it have been a hub for something darker? Sam's first move was to secure the evidence and request a forensic analysis of the revolver and notebook. He also called in two trusted colleagues, Detective Karen Voss, a forensic specialist from Salem with a knack for piecing together degraded evidence, and Deputy Mike Callahan, a young Silverton native who joined the sheriff's office to honor Maria's memory. Together, they set up a small command post in the sheriff's office basement, away from prying eyes. As they pored over Maria's notes, Karen found a faint watermark on the notebook's back cover, a logo tied to a Canadian logging company, Cascadia Timber, which had operated near the mill in the '80s. The border reference clicked. Silverton was just 90 miles from Canada, a route known for smuggling in the '80s. That night, Sam drove to the mill, its rusted gates creaking in the wind. The air smelled of moss and decay, and the distant hoot of an owl sent a chill down his spine. He traced the path Maria might have taken, imagining her flashlight cutting through the darkness. As he reached her abandoned car's last known spot, his phone buzzed, a block number. A raspy voice whispered, "Leave it alone, Whitaker. Some things stay buried." The line went dead. Sam's heart pounded, but he gripped his flashlight tighter, scanning the shadows. Someone was watching, and they knew he was back. Silverton, Oregon, in the fall of 2001, felt like a town caught between eras. The Willamette Valley's golden fields glowed under a crisp September sun, but the hum of dial-up modems and the faint glow of CRT monitors in the sheriff's office marked the slow creep of the new millennium. At the Silver Creek Diner, locals still swapped stories over stacks of pancakes, the jukebox now playing Shania Twain alongside the old George Strait tunes. Detective Sam Whitaker, back in his hometown, felt the weight of the past as he sipped bitter coffee and studied Maria Delgado's notebook, its pages yellowed but heavy with secrets. The discovery of her revolver and cryptic notes about Mayor T. and Deputy R had reopened a 16-year-old wound, and Sam was determined to find the truth. Sam assembled a small team in the sheriff's office basement, a damp, fluorescent-lit room cluttered with old case files and a single coffee maker. Detective Karen Voss, a forensic specialist from Salem, was already analyzing the revolver for trace evidence, her sharp eyes scanning for fibers or residue. Deputy Mike Callahan, a lanky 30-year-old who'd idolized Maria as a kid, brought local knowledge and a quiet intensity. "Maria was my hero," Mike confessed, his voice tight. "She'd give me candy from her patrol car when I was 10. I joined the force because of her." Sam nodded, feeling the personal stakes deepen. Maria wasn't just a name in a file. She was Silverton's daughter. The notebook's entries were a puzzle. Maria had written about meetings at the mill and a shipment expected in August 1985, with references to the border and cash drops. One line stood out. "T knows about the truck. R was there." Sam suspected T was Mayor Harold Thornton, now a retired businessman living in a sprawling ranch house outside town. R likely pointed to Deputy Roger Klein, a grizzled officer still on the force, known for his temper and tight-lipped demeanor. The revolver, cleaned of prints, suggested someone had hidden it deliberately, and the notebook's watermark tied to Cascadia Timber hinted at a Canadian connection. Sam's gut told him the original investigation in 1985 had been botched, or worse, buried. Clara Hensley, the retired schoolteacher who'd found the evidence, became a key figure. At 67, Clara was a fixture in Silverton, her white hair pulled into a bun, her eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. She taught Maria in high school, remembering her as a student who'd written essays about justice and protecting the vulnerable. Clara invited Sam to her modest home, a clapboard house filled with the scent of lavender and old books. Over tea, she shared her suspicions. Back in '85, the sheriff's office rushed to call it an accident, she said, her voice firm. Hargrove wouldn't hear of foul play. And Thornton? He was always at that mill, meeting with men in fancy cars. I saw them myself, late at night. Sam pressed her for details, learning that Cascadia Timber, a Canadian company, had leased the mill's land until 1986, even after it closed. Clara's memory of men in suits sparked a theory. The mill might have been a front for smuggling. Sam's team began digging. Karen's forensic analysis revealed microscopic wood fibers on the revolver's grip, likely from the mill's decaying beams, confirming it had been hidden there. The notebook's ink was faded but legible under UV light, revealing more names. J. Larson and Cascadia Rep. Sam cross-referenced old records and found that J. Larson was likely Jonas Larson, a local trucking company owner who died in 1998. Cascadia Timber's records were harder to trace, but a 1985 business license listed a Vancouver-based executive, Robert McKay, who'd visited Silverton frequently. Mike pulled traffic logs from the era, finding that Maria's last patrol coincided with a report of an unmarked truck crossing the Canadian border near Blaine, Washington, just hours before her disappearance. Sam visited Elena Delgado, Maria's mother, to share the news of the reopened case. Elena, now 65, lived in a weathered farmhouse on the edge of town, its porch sagging but adorned with marigolds. Her face, lined with years of grief, lit up with fragile hope as Sam explained the find. Maria never would have run, Elena said, clutching a faded photo of her daughter in her deputy uniform. She loved this town. She was investigating something big, wasn't she? Sam nodded, hesitant to promise too much. Elena handed him a small keepsake, a silver cross necklace Maria had worn daily, found in her patrol car in 1985. She'd want you to have it, Elena said, for protection. Sam slipped it into his pocket, feeling the weight of her trust. The investigation gained traction, but red flags emerged. Sheriff Linda Tate warned Sam that Deputy Roger Klein had been asking questions about the case, his demeanor cagey. Roger was close to Hargrove back then, Linda said. He worked the mill beat with Maria. If there's dirt, he might know it, or be part of it. Sam decided to tail Roger discreetly, noticing him driving to the mill late one evening, his cruiser idling near the rusted gates. Was he reminiscing, or covering tracks? Sam also requested old financial records for Mayor Thornton, suspecting payoffs tied to the mill. The records showed unusually large deposits in Thornton's accounts in 1985, labeled as consulting fees from Cascadia Timber. As the team pieced together the puzzle, tension mounted. Karen's lab in Salem received an anonymous note. Stop digging, or you'll end up like her. Mike reported seeing a black sedan with tinted windows circling the sheriff's office. Sam, undeterred, pushed forward, but the past was catching up. One night, as he left the diner after a long day, he noticed headlights in his rearview mirror. A truck, its grille glinting in the moonlight, followed him down a lonely stretch of Highway 213. Sam's pulse quickened as he tightened his grip on the wheel, the silver cross necklace heavy in his pocket. The truck stayed close, its engine growling, before veering off into the darkness near the mill. Sam pulled over, his breath shallow, realizing someone wanted him scared or silenced. The mist hung low over Silverton, Oregon, in late September 2001, blanketing the Willamette Valley in a ghostly haze. The Silver Falls lumber mill, its skeletal remains looming beyond the pines, seemed to watch Detective Sam Whitaker as he navigated the town's quiet streets. The air smelled of wet earth and diesel, a reminder of the valley's logging past, now intertwined with the secrets of Deputy Maria Delgado's 1985 disappearance. Sam's investigation had stirred a hornet's nest. Maria's revolver and notebook, found by Clara Hensley, pointed to cover-up involving Mayor Harold Thornton and Deputy Roger Klein, with threads leading to a Canadian smuggling operation. But the cryptic phone call and the truck tailing him on Highway 213 told Sam he was getting close, too close. Sam's team, Detective Karen Voss and Deputy Mike Callahan, worked tirelessly in the sheriff's office basement, their makeshift war room now plastered with maps, timelines, and photos. Karen's forensic analysis confirmed the wood fibers on Maria's revolver matched the mill's decayed spruce beams, placing the weapon at the crime scene. The notebook's entries grew clearer under her UV scans. Maria had documented cash drops at the mill and a border run, planned for August 17, 1985, the night she vanished. One entry chilled Sam. "Are said to keep quiet, or I'm next." Was Roger Klein warning Maria, or threatening her? Sam's suspicion of a corrupt network deepened, and the stakes felt personal. Maria had been one of their own, a deputy who trusted the system, only to be betrayed. To unravel the network, Sam turned to Elena Delgado, Maria's mother, hoping for insight into her daughter's final days. Elena welcomed him into her farmhouse, with a scent of fresh-baked cornbread mingled with the faint must of old photos. Over tea, Elena shared a memory. Maria had come home agitated a week before her disappearance, muttering about dirty money and a deal at the mill. She'd mentioned a name, Robert McKay, the Cascadia timber executive from Vancouver. Elena clutched her rosary, her voice trembling. Maria said she was scared, but she wouldn't back down. She wanted to protect Silverton. Elena handed Sam a letter she'd found years ago in Maria's old room, hidden in a jewelry box. Dated August 15th, 1985, it read, "Mama, if anything happens, check the mill's old office. I left something there. Don't trust the sheriff." Sam's heart sank. Maria had known she was in danger. The letter sent Sam back to the mill, now a maze of rusted machinery and rotting planks. Under the beam of his flashlight, he searched the old office, its windows boarded and floor littered with mildewed papers. Beneath a collapsed desk, he found a loose floorboard. Prying it open, he discovered a small metal tin containing a microcassette tape, labeled MD-885 in Maria's handwriting. Back at the station, Karen played the tape on an old recorder. Maria's voice, steady but tense, crackled through. August 16th, 1985. "I saw Thornton and McKay at the mill tonight. Truck loaded with crates, unmarked, headed north. Klein was there, taking cash. They didn't see me, but I'm being followed. If I don't make it, this is proof." The tape cut off abruptly. Sam exchanged glances with his team. This was no accident. Maria had uncovered a smuggling ring, and someone had silenced her. The tape pointed to a conspiracy spanning borders. Cascadia Timber, ostensibly a logging company, had leased the mill's land through 1986, despite its closure. Sam dug into old customs records, finding that unmarked trucks crossed the Canadian border near Blaine, Washington, in 1985, often with minimal inspection. A contact at the DEA confirmed that the mid-'80s saw a spike in heroin smuggling from British Columbia into Oregon, with rural mills used as transfer points. Mayor Thornton's consulting fees from Cascadia, $50,000 in 1985 alone, looked like payoffs. Deputy Klein's personnel file showed he'd been disciplined in 1984 for unreported income, but Sheriff Hargrove had buried the report. The pieces were falling into place. A drug trafficking network, protected by local power, had operated through Silverton's mill. Sam interviewed Clara Hensley again, seeking her historical perspective. At the Silver Creek Diner, over slices of Marionberry pie, Clara recalled the mill's final years. After it closed, folks saw lights there at night, she said, her voice low. Trucks coming and going, even after Cascadia pulled out. Thornton called it maintenance, but I never saw workers. She leaned closer. And Klein, he was always patrolling near the mill, even when he wasn't assigned. Maria asked me once if I'd seen anything odd. I wish I'd said more. Claire's regret mirrored Sam's own. He should have pushed harder when he heard about Maria's case as a young cop. The investigation hit a wall when Sam tried questioning Roger Klein. At the sheriff's office, Roger, now in his late 50s with a weathered face and a permanent scowl, stone-walled. "I don't know nothing about Maria's case," he growled, his eyes darting to the door. "You're chasing ghosts, Whitaker." But Roger's body language, Clenched fists, shallow breaths, betrayed him. Sam didn't press, not yet, but he tasked Mike with watching Roger's movements. Meanwhile, Karen traced Robert McKay, the Cascadia executive, to a Vancouver address, but learned he'd died in a car accident in 1990. Conveniently, Sam thought. The danger escalated one rainy night. Sam was working late in the basement, the hum of the fluorescent lights masking the sound of footsteps above. A crash startled him. Someone had broken into the evidence room upstairs. Sam raced up, gun drawn, to find the door ajar and paper scattered. The microcassette tape was gone, but Maria's notebook remained, overlooked in a locked drawer. Footprints in the mud outside led to the parking lot, where tire tracks matched a heavy truck. Sam's phone buzzed with another block call. The same raspy voice hissed, "You're digging your own grave, detective." As Sam scanned the darkened lot, a shadow moved near the mill's distant silhouette, and his blood ran cold. The network wasn't just a ghost from 1985. It was alive, and it was watching. The rain-soaked streets of Silverton, Oregon, glistened under the sodium glow of streetlights in October 2001, the Willamette Valley shrouded in a restless fog. The Silver Falls lumber mill, its rusted spires piercing the mist, loomed larger in Detective Sam Whitaker's mind as the investigation into Deputy Maria Delgado's 1985 disappearance unraveled a web of corruption. The microcassette tape, Maria's voice implicating Mayor Harold Thornton, Deputy Roger Klein, and Cascadia Timber's Robert McKay in a smuggling ring, had been stolen in a break-in at the sheriff's office. Yet Maria's notebook, with its cryptic references to cash drops and a border, remained safe, fueling Sam's resolve. The threatening calls and the truck tailing him on Highway 213 signaled that the corrupt network was closing in. But a shocking discovery was about to turn the case upside down. Sam's team regrouped in the sheriff's office basement, the air thick with tension and the faint smell of mildew. Detective Karen Voss, her forensic expertise, strained by the tape's theft, pored over the notebook's remaining clues, while Deputy Mike Callahan tracked Roger Klein's movements. Sam, clutching the silver cross necklace Elena Delgado had given him, felt the weight of Maria's trust. The notebook mentioned a hidden stash in the mill's old boiler room, a lead Maria had never followed up on. Sam decided to search the mill again, this time with Karen and Mike, under the cover of night, to avoid prying eyes. The mill's cavernous interior echoed with dripping water and the creak of rotting beams, its shadows hiding secrets. In the boiler room, beneath a rusted grate, they found a sealed plastic bag containing a single photograph. Maria, alive but gaunt, standing in a dimly lit room, dated August 20th, 1985, 3 days after her disappearance. The photograph was a bombshell. Maria hadn't died that night. She'd survived, at least briefly. The image showed her in plain clothes, her eyes hollow, standing beside a man in a dark jacket, Robert McKay, the Cascadia executive. The background revealed crates stamped with Canadian markings, suggesting a warehouse near the border. Sam's mind reeled. Had Maria been kidnapped, coerced, or, worst of all, turned complicit in the smuggling ring? The notebook's final entry, written in a shakier hand, read, "They know I know. No way out." Sam shared the photo with Elena Delgado, hoping for clarity. Elena, tears streaming down her weathered face, shook her head. "That's not my Maria. She'd never betray her badge." But doubt gnawed at Sam. Had Maria been forced to cooperate, or had she chosen survival over honor? The discovery fractured the team. Mike, who'd idolized Maria, refused to believe she'd turned. "She was set up," he insisted, his voice cracking. Karen, ever analytical, urged caution. "The photo doesn't prove guilt, but it changes everything. We need to know where she went after this." Sam, torn between loyalty to Maria's memory and the evidence, faced a personal crisis. He'd grown up in Silverton, believing in the town's goodness, but the corruption, tied to Thornton, Klein, and a cross-border drug trade, tainted that faith. Sheriff Linda Tate, sensing the team's strain, warned Sam of internal pressure. "The county commissioner's office called," she said, her jaw tight. "They want this case closed. Says it's bad for Silverton's image." Sam suspected Thornton's influence lingered, even in retirement. To trace the photograph's origin, Sam contacted a Canadian Mountie, Sergeant Paul Gagnon, in Vancouver. Gagnon confirmed that Cascadia Timber had been a front for a heroin smuggling ring in the 80s, moving drugs from British Columbia to Oregon via rural routes. The warehouse in the photo matched a known smuggling hub near Blaine, Washington, raided in 1986, but never fully dismantled. Gagnon shared a bombshell. Robert McKay, thought dead in a 1990 car accident, had been spotted in Vancouver in 1995, suggesting he'd faked his death. If McKay was alive, he might know Maria's fate. Sam planned a trip across the border, but first, he needed to confront Roger Klein. Sam and Mike tailed Klein to a dive bar on Silverton's outskirts, the Rusty Spur, where neon signs flickered and Merle Haggard's voice drifted from a jukebox. Inside, Klein sat alone, nursing a whiskey. Sam approached, keeping his tone calm but firm. "What happened to Maria, Roger? You were at the mill that night." Klein's eyes narrowed, his hand tightening around the glass. "You're barking up the wrong tree, Whitaker. Maria was reckless. Got herself in trouble." But as Sam pressed, mentioning the tape, Klein's composure cracked. "You don't know what you're messing with," he hissed, storming out. Mike followed, spotting Klein making a hurried call on a payphone outside, his words inaudible but frantic. The investigation's cross-border element deepened. Karen analyzed the photograph's metadata, finding it was taken with a Polaroid SX-70, common in the 80s, and the warehouse's concrete floor bore traces of chemical residue, likely heroin. Sam suspected Maria had been taken to Canada, either as a hostage or a coerced accomplice, to keep her from exposing the ring. But Thornton's role remained murky. Sam obtained Thornton's old bank records, revealing payments from a Vancouver shell company linked to Cascadia, totaling $200,000 by 1986. Thornton, now 70 and living in a gated estate, refused interviews, citing health issues. Sam sensed a cover-up reaching beyond Silverton, possibly to Portland's political elite. The tension peaked one stormy night as Sam worked late at the sheriff's office. A power outage plunged the building into darkness, and as he fumbled for a flashlight, he heard glass shatter. Someone had smashed a window in the evidence room again. Sam rushed in, finding a brick wrapped with a note. "Cross the border, you die." Footprints in the mud led to the mill, but a search revealed nothing. As Sam returned to his car, his phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. A woman's voice, faint and trembling, whispered, "Sam, it's me. I'm alive. Don't trust Klein." The call ended with a muffled scream. Sam's blood froze. Was it Maria or a trap? The voice lingered in his mind, a ghost from 1985, pulling him toward a dangerous truth. The October rain battered Silverton, Oregon, turning the Willamette Valley's roads into slick ribbons of mud. Detective Sam Whitaker's heart raced as he replayed the voicemail from the night before, a woman's voice claiming to be Maria Delgado, alive after 16 years. The muffled scream at the end haunted him, echoing through the damp air of the sheriff's office basement, where his team huddled. The photograph of Maria, dated 3 days after her 1985 disappearance, had shattered the assumption she'd died that night. Her notebook, the stolen microcassette tape, and mounting evidence pointed to a smuggling ring tied to the Silver Falls lumber mill, implicating former Mayor Harold Thornton, Deputy Roger Klein, and the shadowy Cascadia Timber. Now, with a threatening note warning against crossing the Canadian border, Sam knew the corrupt network was desperate to protect its secrets. It was time to strike. Sam's team, Detective Karen Voss and Deputy Mike Callahan, prepared for a high-stakes move. Karen's forensic work confirmed chemical traces on the photograph's warehouse floor matched heroin residues, linking it to a smuggling hub near Blaine, Washington. The voicemail, traced to a Vancouver payphone, suggested Maria might be held there, or it was a lure to trap Sam. Mike, still reeling from the possibility Maria had turned complicit, pushed for action. "If she's alive, we can't wait," he urged, his voice tight. Sam agreed but sensed a trap. He contacted Sergeant Paul Gagnon, the Canadian Mountie, who offered to coordinate a cross-border operation. Gagnon's intel revealed that Robert McKay, the Cascadia executive thought dead, was living under an alias in Vancouver, running a logistics firm tied to the old smuggling routes. Sam decided to confront the local players first. He and Mike staked out Roger Klein's house, a rundown bungalow on Silverton's edge, its yard overgrown with weeds. At dawn, they caught Klein slipping out, carrying a duffel bag. Following him to the mill, they watched him enter a side door. Sam and Mike, armed and cautious, crept inside, the air thick with the stench of rot and oil. In a back room, Klein was rifling through old crates, pulling out a ledger. Sam stepped forward, gun drawn. "Hands up, Roger. Tell me about Maria." Klein froze, his eyes wild. "You don't get it, Whitaker." He spat. "They'll kill us all." Before Sam could react, a gunshot rang out from the shadows. Klein crumpled, clutching his shoulder, as a figure fled through a broken window. Mike gave chase but lost the shooter in the woods. The ledger, stained with Klein's blood, listed cash payments from Cascadia to Thornton and Klein, dated through 1986. Klein, wounded but alive, was taken into custody. Under pressure, he cracked. "Maria saw too much," he gasped, wincing. Thornton and McKay were moving heroin through the mill. She was going to blow it wide open. They took her, didn't kill her, said she was leverage. Klein swore he didn't know where she was now, only that McKay had orchestrated her disappearance to Canada. Sam's stomach churned. Maria had been betrayed by her own colleague, a deputy she trusted. But Klein's confession confirmed the network's scope. Thornton had pocketed bribes to protect the operation, while Klein had sabotaged the 1985 investigation under Sheriff Hargrove's orders. The ledger also named a Portland judge, Evelyn Carter, who dismissed smuggling cases in the 80s, suggesting the corruption reached Oregon's capital. Sam planned a raid on McKay's Vancouver warehouse, coordinating with Gagnon's RCMP team. Sheriff Linda Tate secured a warrant, but warned Sam of resistance. "Thornton still got friends in high places," she said. "Watch your back." Sam, Karen, and Mike crossed the border, the Silver Cross necklace in Sam's pocket a reminder of Elena Delgado's hope. The warehouse, a squat concrete building near Blaine, was guarded by armed men. At midnight, the RCMP and Sam's team stormed it, flashlights cutting through the dark. Inside, they found crates of counterfeit goods, a new front for the old smuggling ring, but no sign of Maria. In a locked office, Sam discovered a safe containing documents, shipping manifests, bank transfers, and a 1986 letter from McKay to Thornton, mentioning the deputy's relocation. Tucked behind the safe was a recent photo of Maria, older and weary, dated 2000, in a Vancouver apartment. The raid wasn't bloodless. A guard fired on Mike, grazing his arm, and Sam took down another in a tense standoff. As the dust settled, Gagnon's team arrested McKay, now 60 and using the alias James Reed. Under interrogation, McKay revealed the truth. Maria had been coerced into silence, held in Vancouver under threats to her family. She'd worked as a bookkeeper for the ring, her identity erased, until she escaped in 1995. McKay claimed she'd been living off the grid, but he didn't know where. The voicemail, he insisted, wasn't his doing. Sam's hope surged. Maria was alive, but hunted. Back in Silverton, Sam faced the emotional aftermath. He visited Elena Delgado, showing her the recent photo. Elena sobbed, clutching the image. "She's alive, Sam. Find her." But the raid had exposed the network's reach. Judge Carter had been alerted, and Thornton was rumored to be fleeing. Sam's team was battered. Mike's injury, Karen's exhaustion, and Sam's own doubts about trusting the system. At the sheriff's office, Sam found a new clue slipped under the door. A torn map of Vancouver Island, marked with a remote cabin's coordinates and the words "She's here." It was either Maria's desperate plea or a deadly trap. As Sam stared at the map, the phone rang. A block number, silent but heavy with menace. Time was running out. The November chill settled over Silverton, Oregon, in 2001, the Willamette Valley's fields fading to a muted gold under a leaden sky. Detective Sam Whitaker stood at the edge of the Silver Falls lumber mill, its rusted silhouette a fading ghost of the town's past. The investigation into Deputy Maria Delgado's 1985 disappearance had unraveled a sprawling web of corruption. Heroin smuggling orchestrated by former Mayor Harold Thornton, Deputy Roger Klein, and Cascadia Timber's Robert McKay, with ties to a Portland judge and a Canadian drug ring. The raid on McKay's Vancouver warehouse had confirmed Maria's survival, coerced into the smuggling operation until her escape in 1995. A torn map, slipped under the sheriff's office door, marked a remote cabin on Vancouver Island as her possible refuge, or a trap. Sam, clutching the Silver Cross necklace from Maria's mother, Elena, felt the weight of 16 years of grief and betrayal. This was his last chance to bring Maria home and dismantle the network that had stolen her. Sam, Detective Karen Voss, and Deputy Mike Callahan, his arm bandaged from the warehouse raid, planned a final move. With Canadian mounted Paul Gagnon, they organized a covert trip to Vancouver Island. Sheriff Linda Tate, shaken by the corruption in her own department, secured emergency funding and warned Sam of political blowback. "Thornton's been spotted in Portland," she said. "Judge Carter's lawyered up. They know we're closing in." Sam's team, battered but resolute, flew to Victoria, then drove a rented SUV through dense pine forests to the cabin's coordinates. The air smelled of cedar and salt, the Pacific's roar faint in the distance. The cabin, a weathered shack hidden by ferns, was dark, its windows boarded. Sam's heart pounded as he approached, gun drawn, whispering Maria's name. Inside, they found signs of recent habitation, canned food, a sleeping bag, a radio playing faint static, but no Maria. A notebook, eerily similar to the one Clara Hensley found, lay on a table. Its pages, in Maria's handwriting, chronicled her years in hiding. Coerced into bookkeeping for the smuggling ring, threatened with her family's safety, she'd escaped in 1995, living under aliases across Canada. The final entry, dated a week ago, read, "I called Sam. They're coming for me. If I don't make it, tell Mama I tried." Sam's throat tightened. Maria had left a voicemail, risking everything to reach him. As Karen searched the cabin, she found a hidden compartment under the floorboards containing a flash drive, modern for 2001, labeled Evidence. It held scanned documents, ledgers, photos, and correspondence linking Thornton, Klein, McKay, and Judge Evelyn Carter to the smuggling ring, implicating them in 3 other unsolved cases from the 80s. The team's search was cut short by headlights piercing the dusk. 2 SUVs roared up, armed men spilling out, McKay's enforcers, tipped off. A firefight erupted, bullets splintering wood as Sam and Mike took cover behind the cabin. Gagnon's RCMP backup arrived just in time, subduing the attackers. In the chaos, Sam spotted a figure fleeing into the woods, a woman, her silhouette fleeting but familiar. "Maria!" he shouted, sprinting after her. Deep in the forest, he found her, crouched by a stream, her face lined with years of fear, but unmistakably Maria Delgado. She was 44 now, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes haunted but alive. "Sam," she whispered, trembling. "I thought they'd kill me." She'd been hiding, tracking the network's remnants, and left a map to lure Sam, hoping he'd end it. Maria's rescue was bittersweet. Back in Silverton, Sam brought her to Elena Delgado's farmhouse. The reunion was a tear-soaked embrace, Elena clutching her daughter as if she'd vanish again. Maria recounted her ordeal, betrayed by Klein, kidnapped by McKay's men, and forced to work for the ring under threats to her family. Her escape in 1995 had been a desperate bid for freedom, but fear of retaliation kept her hidden. The flash drive's evidence was a goldmine, names, dates, and bank accounts proving the network's reach. Sam's team, with federal support, arrested Thornton in Portland, where he was hiding with a former aide. Judge Carter was disbarred, her rulings in smuggling cases overturned. Klein, recovering from his wound, pleaded guilty, revealing that Sheriff Hargrove, now deceased, had been complicit, burying Maria's case to protect Thornton. The network's collapse was seismic. The Oregon State Police launched an anti-corruption task force, auditing rural sheriff's offices and implementing whistleblower protections. Silverton's town council, shamed by Thornton's betrayal, funded a community oversight board to monitor law enforcement. The Silver Creek Diner became a hub for healing, locals gathering to process the revelations over coffee and pie. Clara Hensley, the retired schoolteacher who'd sparked the case, was hailed as a hero, her name etched on a plaque at the Marion County Fair. Maria, though traumatized, began therapy, supported by Elena and the town's embrace. She declined to return to law enforcement, but spoke at a memorial event, dedicating a new deputy training program in her name to prevent future betrayals. Epilogue 2010. 9 years later, Silverton gleamed under a summer sun, the Willamette Valley vibrant with life. The lumber mill was gone, replaced by a community park with a statue of Maria Delgado, her badge gleaming in bronze. Sam Whitaker, now 57 and retired from the Oregon State Police, stood at the statue's unveiling, his gray hair catching the breeze. He'd settled back in Silverton, running a small security firm and mentoring young deputies. Maria, now 53, lived quietly with Elena, helping at the local library and volunteering at the fair. The town had healed, its trust in justice restored by reforms that rippled across Oregon. At the ceremony, Elena, frail but radiant, placed a wreath at the statue's base, whispering, "You kept us safe, Mija." Sam walked to the Silver Creek Diner afterward, the jukebox playing Alan Jackson's "Where Were You?" Clara Hensley, now 76, joined him, her eyes bright. "We did right by her," she said, sipping coffee. Sam nodded, the Silver Cross necklace still in his pocket, a reminder of the fight for truth. Silverton was no longer just a town. It was a testament to resilience, a place where justice, family, and community had triumphed over corruption's shadow.